Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As we wait for a couple more people to join, I'm going to be dropping a poll in the chat. It's going to ask you what's your biggest hesitation about using AI in your business. If you guys could go ahead and answer that, we'll review the results and then we'll begin. Looks like a lot of people have concerns about the tools, what ones to trust. A couple people moving forward. Yeah, well, thankfully, that is what we're going to be talking about today, how to know even where to start with implementing AI into your business. So that is great. My name's Caitlin. I work here at Macatawa Technologies, and today we're wrapping up our three-part AI webinar series, which with what I think is the most practical session yet, how to actually implement AI into your business without throwing your team into straight chaos. I'm joined by Tony, our sales and marketing manager, who has been doing a lot of thinking and talking about this topic lately, and we're glad he's here to share with us what he's learned. So I'm going to let Tony take it away.
Hey, thanks, Kate. Yeah, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This is the third part of the series. We had Cameron talk to us the first round with just a general overview of what AI is. Then we had Adam talk about the security implications and the things that we got to be considering when we're rolling out AI or the information that we're putting in there. And today, hopefully, we can summarize some of that and find some practical use cases that you can dive into. I know AI is one of those buzzwords and everybody's talking about it, but there is a lot of confusion about it and not necessarily knowing which direction to go. So hopefully, after we review today, you'll have a better idea on what are some practical steps that I can take while we're doing this. So, this isn't an implementation where you're thinking about hiring AI specialists necessarily or rebuilding all of your systems or, really taking massive risks for your business. It's just adopting capabilities that you already have. It can be anything from, using your chat GPT all the way to doing Google searches and getting results there. So just truly using that incremental improvement as time continues to go on will be a big impact to your organization with minimal risk. So today, looking at why most businesses struggle, before we get into the what can we do, a lot of people feel stuck when it comes to AI. So leaders understanding AI conceptually, you know what it is, you hear what it is, you know that there could be potential benefits to your organization with that, but you're not sure what to do with it. Not just leadership, but your teams they're dabbling in it, but they don't necessarily know which direction to go. There's always this fear of disruption for business. Downtime is a business killer. Doing it wrong is one of those things that there's tangible impact to the organization. Too much noise, not enough clarity. You're getting, hey, you should try this AI tool. You should try this language model. You should do this in your business. There's so much AI stuff being thrown at us, but we don't necessarily know which direction to go. And then you're overwhelmed with the limited time that you have. I think that's one of the biggest ones. We're all working on our businesses and in our organizations. And we're looking at rolling out AI as something that's going to help us get some of that time back. I think one of the scary parts or the frustrations with this is like, I have so much that I have to do already. Now I have so much more that I have to do with AI. It's like, I don't really know if I have the time to do this or to dive into it or to do it well. So I kind of compare AI to like what spreadsheets were in the 90s, where it took this big, focused effort where specialists were using things, they were getting into the spreadsheets and doing that. It wasn't really accessible to mainstream. So now what we want to do is take some of the struggles and the fear with that and how can we turn this into a tool that everybody can use? Everybody uses spreadsheets today. It's only a matter of time before every business and every person in an organization is using AI in some way, shape, or form. So for the agenda today, we're going to be talking about why AI is overwhelming. Adopting that it's kind of a daunting task. There's so much out there. 3 levels of AI use that we can do for the organization. A couple of those are going to be really applicable. One of those might not be applicable yet, but we'll get into that. Identifying the right opportunities. I think that's one of the most difficult things for an organization to get into. What direction should we go? What is the right opportunity for us? And then once we determine what that is, how do we do it safely? So we're going to talk about how to implement some of these things safely. Again, reiterating some of the things that Adam talked about before, but making sure we're really intentional about implementing AI. And then like everything in business, we want to make sure that we're understanding the real value that this is adding. You don't necessarily just want to jump on the trends because of AI is just the thing to do. I mean, it's got to drive tangible value to your organization. So we're going to talk about how you can measure some of those things, not just I need to use AI, but how can I use that to provide value to the organization? And then we're going to go through a simple 90-day roadmap. All of these things are great concepts to get into, but like, what do I do? How do I step by step get this thing moving forward? So we'll end going through the 90-day roadmap, hopefully giving you some ideas on how you can implement it moving forward. So AI implementation, what does that really mean? We want to make sure it's not something that's scary. It's not something that you should be fearful of. We just want to make sure that we're doing things intentionally. So implementing AI is not going to be building AI systems from scratch. You don't have to have no information and just start building from, without anything there. Again, we talked about it. There's tools that are already embedded on some of the software and things that you already have. Training custom machine learning models, like you don't have to be super technical and getting into those things. A massive technical undertaking. A lot of this is truly just utilizing workflows that you have in your organization, and how can we automate those, and how can we improve those. We want to make sure that we can reduce some of the manual work and the repetitive work that you're doing. And then the fear of, AI is just reserved for those tech giants. Sure, there's tech giants that are pouring into these things just a ton of time and energy and resources, but that's not applicable or practical for a lot of other organizations, smaller businesses. So saving times without that big investment is something that's really, really important. Most AI success in small businesses comes from just doing different things, like having better writing, some of the faster research that you can do, the reports that you get, cleaning that up, making the data a lot more viable. And then that manual rework that you're getting into, trying to reduce that is a really, really critical thing here. So when we're looking at doing an AI implementation, those are the things that we're trying to accomplish. So the three levels of use for AI, again, we talked about it earlier. Level 1 and level 2 is where most small businesses and medium businesses are going to be sitting. Level 3 is for larger organizations that you can get into and build more custom models. But starting at level 1, embedded AI. I mean, these are in the tools, again, that you already have. So you're using QuickBooks for finance. Your ERP program is, providing custom reports that you can fine tune and do searching with. You can draft new emails, you can draft new statements of work or scopes or processes, whatever that looks like. A lot of those tools are already embedded. You'll see them in your Microsoft products, your Word, your Excel. Yeah, I mean, shoot, you even see it when you go and do a Google search. The first thing that comes up isn't just a link to a website anymore. It's providing you with an answer to the question that you use. That's all AI, and it's already embedded in your everyday. Level 2 is going to be that standardizing AI, creating those reusable prompts, templates, workflows. So it's a repeatable task that you have to do. How do we take that information and make sure that the outcome is going to be the same for these things that we have to repeat? Standardizing it across the board is one of those really valuable things that you can add. A good example would be like a sales team uses the same AI prompt for drafting follow-up emails, or a manager's using a template for doing their performance reviews. It keeps everything the same, but it's a repeatable task that you don't have to build from scratch every time. You're standardizing and you're making sure that it's repeatable. And then that level 3 is truly building those AI systems. You know, you get your custom models. There's a lot higher cost and a lot higher risk for doing that more involved build out of an AI system. So that could be anything from routing tickets or automated decision making, things that you're integrating into your ERP system to drive a desired outcome. For the practical starting today, those are things that you can work towards. But level 1 and level 2 is truly going to be where you're going to see most of that value moving forward. So what are some of those common AI opportunities? Again, Cameron talked a little bit about this during the first session, but we're trying to increase productivity by, whether it's email, automatic email replies, internal documentation. You have to create a new policy or a new process. Those are things that you can build up and develop using AI. You don't have to start from scratch and have it reviewed by 5 different teams. You can use AI as an asset for that. When it comes to your operations, again, the processes, the policies, even internal frequently asked questions. If you have a employee handbook that gets referenced a lot for different things, you can use AI to review that information and provide you with the directions specifically to your organization. Also providing summaries of notes that you've taken for a meeting, or summaries of the policy that was created, just to give you that really high level. Another example would be sales and marketing, proposals that you're creating, building out those drafts, building out the information that you're trying to share. You don't have to start that from scratch. You can use the tools that are available to you to create something that's very, very pleasing and aesthetically it looks really good, and it actually has really good information in there, but you can do it in half the time that it would have taken you. Content creation. Again, we talk about emails, we talk about white papers, we talking about newsletters, things like that. You can utilize AI to help you in all of those assets. And then the last one here is going to be reporting, putting together executive summaries, trend narratives, KPI tracking. How do you get the information that you have and actually put it into something that you can use? How do you summarize that? How do you provide that information to a board or to leadership or a manager? How do you put that in a way that the information that you have, there's so much of it, and you just got to consolidate it down. Reporting is a good way that you can use AI to help you with those things as well. So they're kind of boring. There's nothing really fun or exciting about this. It's really straightforward stuff that you're doing every day. But the fact that it's boring it's actually good. It's a perfect use case to start rolling out AI in your organization. So some of these bad first AI ideas, these are the things that you should truly avoid. If there's anything that's going to be mission critical in your organization, you should probably avoid starting your AI journey by focusing on that. You don't want to automate your most important business processes before you understand how AI is going to impact that or utilize that. Customer-facing decisions. You don't want AI making decisions that are going to impact your customer, especially if you don't have human oversight with that. I think that's one of the big things that people fall short on. They just trust the AI that it's going to deliver the result that they're looking for without reviewing it, and that can get you into a lot of trouble. Other things like this will change everything projects. The bigger the project, without understanding how it's going to work, how it's going to impact, without starting small, a lot of times those initiatives are going to fail because the impact is so large or the outcome isn't what you wanted it to do, so that's going to drop. And then, again, the hard to undo. If a mistake that AI is going to make is difficult to reverse, you should probably avoid doing that, especially as you start out. AI is not one of those things that you can just let it do its thing by itself. You're always going to need that human oversight. It should support your decisions. It shouldn't be making those decisions for you. So all of those, just try to avoid those. Start safe and then scale your organization. So you might be asking now, how do I identify some of those good opportunities? Cameron talked about a few in the first session. Adam talked about some as well. But the things that are going to be really, really beneficial for your organization is attaching AI to that pain, not just the curiosity, not the I wonder if AI could do this. It's going to be more like I do this all the time and I need help doing it. So those frequent tasks that you just have to do over and over again. Let's see if we can get it in there. If it's a repetitive thing, let's get it taken care of. Text heavy tasks, I have to review documentation and get a summary. I need this big lump of text to make sense. I need to present it to somebody, or I need to be able to digest that easier. Put that in an AI tool and have it put that in a summary that you can actually use. If it's rule-based or it's time-consuming, things that you do all the time, it just takes a lot of time for you to do some of those nitty-gritty things, absolutely use AI as a tool in those situations. Examples for different businesses could be anywhere from drafting proposals, writing status updates, creating internal documentation. I know that's a big one where small organizations, as they continue to mature, they're trying to create these processes and these procedures and things that are going to help their business scale. Not necessarily knowing where to start, not necessarily paying a business consultant, not necessarily reaching out to your attorneys. You can get a really good jumping off point with these procedures and these processes on how you function and do your job by using the AI tools available to you today. So it could be anything from that to reporting and analysis, even doing email follow-ups. You know, you have out of office replies, or you have just general tasks where, hey, I need you to help me create a reply to this complex question that I got. Have Copilot help you with some of that. Review it for accuracy and then send it out. So there's a lot of good opportunities that a small business can start with that are going to have really high value by taking away some of the tediousness of what we do every single day without the huge risk of this might have negative impact to our organization. So what are some of those best low-risk starting points? Choose boring AI first. Win early. These are the, again, don't try to change your entire process. Don't try to change your entire organization to work around AI. See if you can use AI tools that are available to you today to help do your business, not the other way around. So the best first AI wins in small business are going to be if it's internal, you know, it's not going to be customer facing or client facing. If it's reversible, you do something and you roll it out and it's something you can make a change with. That's a great use case for this. Excellent low risk starting areas, especially when we're talking about productivity. I think everybody uses email in some way, shape, or form. Drafting those emails, a lot of time can be spent doing email. You know, it's a good way to communicate, especially if you're communicating a lot of information, but sometimes it takes a lot of time to conceptualize that and start building that out. Use AI to help you draft those email. Your messaging is unclear in a certain report that you have, or I mean, it could be an email, it could be a Word document, whatever that is. If you need to clean up your messaging, take what you've already written, put it in a chat, and have it clean it up so it can rewrite that messaging to be more clear to your audience. Documentation. Long documents are, I don't know about but going through long documents, that can be very, very time consuming. Uploading those again safely into an AI model, you can get those summaries and actually find the things that are going to be important that you're looking for in those documents without having to read every single thing. Again, make sure that you're verifying, make sure that you understand what the document is, but you can get those summaries and you can turn those notes into action items, which is a really beneficial thing. So from an operations standpoint, again, we talk about it over and over, but creating process documentation, standard operating procedures, internal frequently asked questions. You know, you have new staff coming in regularly and you want to be able to train them and make sure that they have the resources at their disposal. Create an AI model where they can ask the question and it can pull from your internal documentation and provide users with those answers. When it comes down to again, the operating procedures, if you don't have something and it's something that you do over and over and over, document it. There's a lot of gaps in a lot of organizations that could be filled by just spending a couple minutes doing a prompt and say, okay, this is something that I do on the regular. I need a process for how I can make this repeatable, how I can scale this moving forward. So get that built up. For sales and marketing, proposing drafts, prep summaries. You're going out and you're meeting with a client for whatever reason. Make sure you understand who that client is, what they do, and how you can impact them by having some research be done. Use AI to do the research on how you implement well with that actual client. Social and email content drafts. Again, drafts, not just deploying it, but really truly having it help you build the content and the messaging that you're trying to communicate to your audience. And then a big one here is going to be reporting, executive summaries, weekly status updates. These are all things that when they're done manually, they take a lot of time. So going through that and helping you build those things in a much faster, much more efficient way, the AI tools can be used for those things. And that's a great starting point for anybody in an organization, whether you're a leader or an employee, to jump in and do that. You're not automating judgment. I think that's the one thing that I want to keep saying. Like, you don't want AI to do these things for you. You want AI to do these things with you. So always being the final say in whatever goes out, whatever's communicated. Don't just trust AI to do these things, but utilize what AI does, make that final judgment, and then move it forward. So you're automating your prep work, everything you do, but the final result that goes out is going to be up to you. So buy versus build versus ignore. So keep in mind, saying no is part of the AI strategy moving forward. So most small businesses should buy first. These are going to be, the AI tools that are embedded in tools that you already pay for. So this can be your Microsoft 365 using Copilot. This can be in your QuickBooks for financial reporting. The benefit of this is going to be just your fast time to value. It's already there. You don't have to build it from the ground up. A lot of this has already been thought through, and you can utilize that. It's pretty low risk. It's already there. So get those results created from the tools that are already there, and use that for you. Microsoft Copilot's a great example. Most of us are using Microsoft in one way, shape, or form. Word, Excel, PowerPoints, whatever that might be, use Copilot. When you're analyzing documents, when you're working through some formatting things, have it integrated in that and ask those questions and do those things. Gemini, we see that all the time when we're doing our Google searches. Again, sites aren't coming up first, answers to our questions are. ChatGPT Enterprise, you're building out documentation, you're looking for research on certain things. Utilizing those tools that are already built in, they're already at your disposal, is a great place to start for most organizations. Build, that's when we start getting into things that are a little bit more technical. These are things that are a little bit more when AI is your core differentiation. There's going to be dedicated resource being used for these. These aren't things that your typical end user is just going to use to help them do the kind of prep work or the simpler tasks moving forward. These are things that you're really dedicating resources, time, and energy into truly building out to help your organization distinguish itself in that way. It's a lot higher cost for those things. There's a lot higher complexity. These touch many different parts of your business when you're going that way. So as a starting point, this is generally not recommended. Of course, there may be a use case for your organization where this is a direction that you want to go. But for the most part, when you're buying, when you're getting into it, the tools that are already there is going to be your best place to start. The last thing on here is just ignore. Again, saying no is truly a strategic part of the decision-making process. So ignore the things that are going to drive unclear or unproven results. Or if it's going to provide very high risk to your operations, ignore those things, avoid those things, especially for now until we know how AI fits into our organization, how it's helping us do the things that we need to do. If it's not aligned with your current priorities, we're trying to stabilize, or we're trying to grow with our current client base, or we're trying to expand into a new market. Like if those are your priorities, taking on an AI initiative might not be the right move for your organization right now. So it's a lot of buzz around it, a lot of people moving forward in that direction, and I think it's going to impact most of what we do moving forward. But make sure that the timing is right for rolling those things out. And again, like I have on the last bullet point here, just revisit later when the landscape matures. We're in a pretty volatile time right now where there's a lot of unknown. AI is a big name. There's a lot of push going into it, and there's a lot of discovery on how do we use this? How is this going to best impact our organization? It's maybe not in its infancy, but it's definitely young. So as far as implementing in your organization, if you're an early adopter or you see some of the tangible benefits of, automating some of those repetitive tasks or diving in there, absolutely jump into it. But if it's like, this is something, we have different priorities right now, AI is going to continue to mature. It's going to continue to develop. It's going to continue to be more accessible as time goes on. So later might be a better time for you there. So when it comes down to it, the real risk isn't technology. Um, Most of the time, it's a leadership issue. It's not the IT. So the big one here is just unclear expectations. We're rolling out AI, but I don't know what that means, and I don't know what success looks like when we do that. That's a very typical spot to be. Hey, we have to do this. We have to jump on, but I don't know what to expect. I'm not going to lay anything out for my team. We just kind of do it, and no one's really defined what it looks like, or there's no ownership of it. Organizationally, we have to roll this entire thing out, but we're all just going to do it. So if nobody's responsible for the AI initiative, it's not going to be a priority, or it's gonna drift. It's gonna eventually, most likely, it's going to die. Um, no change movement with that. Tools are rolled out, but people were never trained. So everybody's kind of using it their own way. There's no standard moving forward within the organization that this is how we're going to use the tool. This is how we're going to coach new members that are coming onto into the team on. And there's no support for it too. So good luck. Those are really difficult places to be. And then the last one here is just not putting guardrails in place. I know Adam emphasized that pretty strongly in the last session regarding making sure there's strong guardrails for your organization. Most likely employees, they don't know what's allowed. They're going to overuse AI. They're going to depend on it. They're not going to verify it. They're just going to put the prompt in, get the outcome that they think they want, and send it along. But if there's been no verification, there's huge risk to the organization with that. The other side of that, they might avoid it. They might want nothing to do with it because there's been no direction, there's been no guardrails. I'm kind of unsure. I'd rather just keep doing everything as I've been doing it up until now. So again, a lot of the AI adoption and rollout comes from leadership. It comes from the top. It comes from having good direction as an organization that this is a conscious effort. This is how we're going to roll things out and the push forward that way. So you might be asking yourself, from a training perspective, from a practical guardrails at work perspective, like what should we do? Again, some of this is the Cam already talked about and Adam already talked about, but vague rules stop adoption. Putting in clear boundaries or clear guardrails, that's going to enable you to push forward in this AI journey. So with that, what data should never be used? That's a very, very big guardrails. Very important to know that any personal information shouldn't be put in there. Any sensitive financial information from my organization shouldn't be put in this tool. That's a great guardrail to have if you decide that with your organization. Anything confidential, you shouldn't be putting that into AI. That's not where you're going to gain the most benefit from right now, and the risk is pretty high. asking the question what AI is allowed to help with. Be specific about the tools that you can use. We see it so often where an organization and their employees, you have somebody using ChatGPT, you have somebody using Gemini, you have somebody using Copilot, you have somebody using XYZ. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing. So as an employee, what am I allowed to do? What tools am I allowed to use? What am I allowed to do with those tools? May I upload our employee handbook into that? May I upload our latest P&L into that to get some reporting and develop trends for our next meeting? Those are really good questions and good boundaries to have. Yes, you can do these things. Yes, these are the tools, or no, you absolutely can't. And certainly don't enter that information into an AI tool. And then I think the biggest one here is when human review is required, especially as you're rolling things out at the beginning. That's almost always. Every output needs a human review. Before you've proven what this is, what it does, that it works, that the outcomes are the things that you're looking for it to achieve, you should always be verifying with a human. Every output needs human review. Can't stress that enough. There's so many times you see it in educational institutions where students are just writing a paper and they're handing it in. There's consequences with those things. When you step into a business or an organizational perspective, there's different consequences with those things. So always having that human review is absolutely critical. So use AI to prepare. Use AI to do the things that normally take you a lot of time. Just make sure that a human is approving it. So what do we see when we're looking at common implementation mistakes? We talked about a lot of this already, and I'm going to get into just a little bit more when it comes to mistakes, and then we're going to get into a roadmap on how we can help move this forward. So mistake number one is going to be just roll out purgatory as one of those things that, hey, this is really fun and it's really exciting. We're just going to keep testing it. We're going to keep going. It's not ready for deployment. We just got to keep testing it. We got to keep testing it. And then there's no decision to keep pushing forward, to expand it, or to stop it. That's a very real place where a lot of the implementation where it goes to die. You can avoid that by just setting a 60 to 90 day window. Hey, we're going to review this stuff at the end to see how our progress is, how we're tracking with everything there. Another mistake that we see is tool sprawl. Again, I just mentioned earlier, like every team uses AI differently. Sales and marketing is doing this. Operations is doing this. Finance is doing this. There's no consistency across the board, no standards. Shared standards, as we know, it's repeatable, it's scalable, it's trainable. So defining those as an organization is really, really important. Create that sense of ownership. It doesn't have to be anything crazy formal. Just define it and make sure everybody's on the same page with that moving forward. Another mistake that we see is just measuring usage, not the impact that it has. I think this is one of the biggest ones, and I talked about it at the very beginning. Using AI and AI usage doesn't equal value. It doesn't equal success. It doesn't equal moving forward. The impact that it has, like, great, everybody's using ChatGPT or everybody's using Copilot and Word to do these things, and that's all fine and good, but what value is that driving? What impact does that have to the organization? Nothing's changing. We've all been doing this for the last 6 months, and there's no difference in our output or the outcomes of what we're doing. That's usage, not impact to the organization. So tie the usage to the outcomes, and you're going to be in a much better spot. These are all tools. We're all trying to deliver our service, our product, whatever that looks like. These are tools to help us do those things. So always be measuring the impact of what we're doing in order to see if it makes sense. The last one here is just ignoring some middle managers. Sometimes executives get excited. They see this next iteration of what could be, and they get really, really pumped up. but middle managers sometimes they don't share the same vision. They don't have that same level of excitement. And sometimes they silently just block adoption because they're not pushing it forward. They're not driving it forward. So again, make sure that everybody from a leadership standpoint, all the way down to your newest employee, is on board with the direction that the organization is going when it comes to adopting AI. Make sure that there's part of the process that they're involved in. Whether it's how could you use this in your sales and marketing department? How could you use this in finance? And making sure that we're in agreement across the board, that's going to help implementation continue to move forward. We've all been in the spot where an implementation rollout just dies, and that's a very frustrating place to be, especially with something as valuable as AI. This can have very significant impact to your organization. So let's keep driving it forward. So the fun stuff. Let's get into a simple 90-day roadmap of things that you can do each step of the way to drive some of these forward. When we're looking at this, each organization has their own specific needs. They do processes and procedures their own way. They compete in their own space. But this is truly just a 90-day roadmap that just builds it out that should be applicable to everybody. In the first 30 days, what we're going to be trying to do is identify 10 to 15 potential use cases. That could be meeting notes or, things that are living in people's heads that haven't been documented yet. Setting clear boundaries and rules. Again, we just talked about that. Adam talked about it last session where, making sure that the organization has those boundaries set up is absolutely critical to protecting the organization, protecting the data that's there, and truly protecting the employees. So making sure that those boundaries and rules are set up on how we're going to use AI. And then run basic AI training for all employees. Most people are aware of AI in some way, shape, or form, but they don't necessarily know how to apply it to themselves, how to apply it in the business. So run a basic AI training, and that can be as simple as a team meeting that you all sit down and, hey, we're going to be pushing into AI. This is kind of what the expectation is. This is the way that we're going about it, and this is the person leading it. If you have any questions, go to them. It doesn't have to be this big formal training or anything like that, but just make sure that all the employees and the entire team and the entire organization is all on the same page. And after you've identified your 10 to 15 things, choose 2 or 3 of the cases to roll out. Hey, this is one of the biggest constraints, or this is where I spend most of my time prepping for a meeting, or I'm doing 15 staff reviews today and I have to build all of this stuff out from scratch. Pick 2 or 3 use cases that you can start rolling out. That's the perfect place to start. That's going to take a while. It's going to take some intentionality. The first 30 days of making sure that that foundation is set is going to determine the success long term. So the next 30 days, going into 60 days, you're going to be rolling these things out. You're going to be taking these 2 or 3 things and making sure that they're low risk use cases, but you're going to be rolling those out. So you're going to be conducting internal conversation or having internal conversations or conducting interviews with different people, whether it's managers or just team members, and making sure you're getting their feedback as you're rolling this out. How is this working? What's the impact to your day in, day out? Standardizing your prompt templates, going back and saying, again, structurally, we are doing this. Everybody's going to do it this way, and we're going to be rolling it out that way. And then you document what's working. Hey, we've been doing this for the last 30 days, and it seems to be going really well. Document what's not working. Hey, we've been doing this and we've been getting this outcome. This is not what we want to do. How can we adjust? How can we make changes there? And sometimes when you're going through this too, you're going to have to adjust the guardrails. There could be changes in outputs that are being delivered, and you're like, this is not at all what I want, or we're putting information in that it's getting us good results, but I'm not really comfortable doing that yet. Let's put new guardrails in place. So always being able to go back and look at what's working, what's not working, making sure standards are being adopted by the entire team and moving that forward. And then the last 30 days, bringing it to 90 days, is measuring that impact. Scale this thing, measure the impact versus usage. Again, we talked about it. Just because you're using it doesn't mean that it's driving value. It doesn't mean that there's being positive impact to the organization. So make sure you're measuring those things. Scale what's working. If you're doing something in this particular department that's working incredibly well as you roll it out, move it to the next department. This is working really great for operations, and I think finance or HR could benefit from this as well. Roll it out there. Looking back and stopping or pausing what isn't working. This organization or this department in the organization has been using this way, and we're getting the wrong outcomes, or it's not driving the value that I thought it would drive. It's okay to stop or pause or pump the brakes or reevaluate and go in a different direction. And that's where we come into plan next quarter's AI roadmap. Put it on paper, digitally, however you want to do it, but write it down. Make sure that there's a plan for the next quarter on what's the next step of our AI journey. So this is really high level, just a simple 90-day roadmap. And some of these things, it probably sounds pretty common sense. And a lot of it is, but it's got to be intentional. Take it from building that foundation. Here's our needs. Going into our rollout on this is what we're going to do. And then review it and say, can I scale this or do we got to bring it back? That's one of the most important things to keep an implementation going long term and having it actually benefit your organization versus stalling out and just dying. So we talk about measuring value. We talk about what success looks like. AI, it should become a tool that your organization implements. It should be something that's bringing value to your organization, not just a one-time project that you're just rolling out. This is something that you should be incorporating into your day in, day out, especially if you're taking it along this rollout. So the questions that you want to be asking when you're measuring that value and that success: did our rework decrease? Did I spend less time doing repetitive tasks? Did AI free me up so I can spend more time working on the things that need judgment or the things that I'm going to have a higher impact? Is AI working as a regular tool? The rollout project, we made it all the way through 90 days and now it's done. Did that impact how we're doing things moving forward? Was there value to what we did there, and is it being part of the daily? Did decisions get faster? Leaders get better, faster insights, cleaner data to make smarter decisions. I mean, ultimately, again, it's a tool. Those are the things that we're trying to drive, freeing you up to do the things that are much more valuable in the organization. And did my cycle time improve? The output that I'm bringing in there, normally it would take me 4 hours to create this document. Did I do it in half the time and the quality is consistent or maybe better? Looking at that cycle time on how we're going to improve that. Saving 10 hours a week doesn't matter unless those hours are redirected into higher value work. So again, you can save 10 hours, you implement this and you're looking at your value, but if you didn't add additional value with that time that you saved on it, it doesn't necessarily equal value. So the things that we're going to be looking at doing is, improving your turnaround time, whether that's proposals or reports. The frequency and quality of the things that you're delivering are better. Your response time to customers improves. I mean, that's a huge one. You can get back to them with the information that they need in a much faster time. There's absolute value to that. Employee satisfaction with tedious work. I think we all know what it's like to get bogged down in the day in, day out with the getting stuck in the tedious things that we need to do to fulfill our jobs. If we can start moving some of that over to AI, we're going to be much more fulfilled doing some of the more valuable work than just the tedious work there. So this was a lot. It's a lot of repeat from what Cameron did in session 1, repeat from what Adam did in session 2, but I hope this was helpful in at least one way. The key takeaways today: just looking at starting small, addressing one problem, 2 problems. You don't have to boil the ocean. Just take it a piece at a time. That's how we move things forward. Take it through that whole 90-day process. Once you're at 90 days, can I scale this? Can I use this? Those are really important things to be looking at. Prove value in a safe space, then grow. looking at making sure that the value that's being created with AI is done in a way that's not going to negatively impact you or your clients or your customers. If you can do that internally, can you grow it? Can you scale it? Making sure that there's clear ownership, training, guardrails. That's going to make AI a safe place. It's going to make it approachable if I know what I'm supposed to do. If I know that I can use it this way and I shouldn't use it that way. As an employee, that gives me a lot of confidence that I can use this tool to enhance my job versus wonder, should I be doing this or shouldn't I be doing this? And then the last thing here, you don't have to be first, just be intentional. You hear the buzzwords, everybody's doing AI, everybody's trying to figure it out, everybody's trying to incorporate that in some way, shape, or form. You don't have to be first. Just make sure that you're intentional. When you're going through, make sure the things that you're doing in your organization are having the value and the impact that you want them to have. So be intentional with it, roll it out, don't let it die, keep it going through that 90-day process and see if you can take it that next step. Start with a team, start with a problem, or start with a use case. Just start somewhere. With that, do we have any questions or anything else that came in?
Okay, someone said, nice job. Food for thought. And we have a question about, I've heard that AI failures are usually a leadership issue, not an IT issue. What does good AI leadership actually look like in a smaller company where there's no dedicated IT department?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's something that people are going to run into a lot where they don't have a dedicated team that's rolling out these initiatives or whatever. I think from a leadership perspective, knowing the impact that this can have to the organization, knowing the benefits that could be had, assigning somebody as kind of a champion for AI within the organization and driving that forward. Again, that's going to take it to that end where you see the value. I think I think we touched on it at the very beginning, but one of the things that a lot of people think is that AI is a very technical thing. It's really not. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways as we've been going through this internally and exploring this and putting these sessions together is AI really comes down to a lot of workflow. It comes down to a lot of processes. It comes down to a lot of managing the tasks that most organizations deal with on a day in, day out. Like, how do you create an automation or use the tools that are at your disposal to take care of that and drive value for the organization? It's not so much a matter of rolling out a technical tool or doing it this way. It's more conceptually understanding how the organization functions, the workflows that are in place, how we get something that comes in to something that needs to be delivered, how we work it through that process. And if you can take that and have a team of people or leadership understand that it's really a business conversation more so than a technical conversation, I think you're going to be miles ahead.
We have another question about hats. What is the process of implementing hats and how would hats help control with the guardrails?
Yeah, I think hats is one of these things that it's a tool that's built for organizations to safely put information in. And I think, organizationally, you still have to have those boundaries. You still have to have those guardrails in place. But part of that is ensuring that you have those standards, you have those tools that really genuinely have been decided as an organization. This is what we're going to use. This has been vetted out. It's safe to use. So if we have those guardrails that are in place, you have your tool that's in place that's not sharing information with the model. It's not training the model. The information that you put in there is safe and secure. You know that you can start building some of these things. You know you can use that as a place to drive specific business questions about your organization forward. But I would say with that is don't just rely on the tool. You have to have those guardrails and those boundaries in place. Some of it comes down to a simple AI policy, making sure everybody understands what that is, all the way to this is the tool that we're going to use, and all the rest of the tools we're training you that you're not allowed to use those. So if you keep those guardrails in place and you use a tool similar to Hat's AI, that's really setting your organization up for driving forward with AI while being very conscious and doing everything you can to minimize your risk.
Awesome. Great answer, Tony. Do we have any other questions that anyone wants to drop in the chat before we finish up here? I'll give it a minute. Otherwise, that's a wrap on our AI series. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. I hope you're walking away with feeling a lot more confident about where AI fits in your business and how to move forward in the right way. If you've found these sessions valuable, all three are going to be available on our YouTube channel. The first two are already up there. So you can go ahead and just search Macatawa Technologies, will show up, and you can rewatch them. You can share them with anyone that you might think could benefit from them. And thank you again for being here. And don't hesitate to reach out if you have any more questions about AI in your business.